There's a very touching part in the movie where you mentioned the great love of your life is Sean. You mentioned this in Vanity Fair and other interviews too. This is kind of sad. I mean, we seem to. I think of you now as being sort of a sad and lonely person. Is that misapprehension?
You don't have to think of me as being a sad and lonely person all the time, but some of the times I think. But everybody is. And at this point in my life, I could say that he was the great love of my life. I mean, that's why I married, and I think most people have that one person, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, the person that you're, you know, live and die for, the person that gets right down in your heart and soul, you know, and makes that big impression. I think everybody has it. I don't know, I mean, it'd be great if it would happen again, but I think most people can say they had that one, you know.
I mean, being Madonna, is there a problem of, like, who's good enough for Madonna? Like, what guy could possibly live up to this?
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't think it's a question of who's good enough, but really who is willing to sort of accept my lifestyle, you know, and be able, I mean, let's face it, it's a tough lifestyle to live, especially if you're not in it, doing it all the time. And I've had years to acclimate myself to the insanity of my life. You know, other people don't, and most people are pretty, sort of want to shy away from it, or frightened by it, or intimidated by it. And I mean, I think I've said this before in interviews, my hat's off to any guy who has the balls to ask me out, you know what I mean? And then I always follow up by, you do know what you're getting yourself into, right?
Do you also express a desire at some point to have children or something?
Yeah.
Could you do that with the lifestyle that you have?
No, well, obviously, right? Things would have to change. I mean, I couldn't go on tour for a certain period of my life. I couldn't, you know, run 10 miles. I mean, there would be changes made, you know. But I have to look at it as another adventure, or another thing to conquer, you know what I mean? That's how I have to look at it.
Do you ever think about feminism yourself, or do you just see yourself carrying out your life?
I'm carrying out my life. I mean, I think about humanism. I don't... I think the things that I feel like need to be changed. I mean, I'm aware of it. I'm aware of sexism. I'm aware of racism. I'm aware of homophobia. I'm aware of all of these things. When I started out, I didn't go, okay, these are all these things, these subjects. It's just that I want to tackle, that I want to attack head on, that I want to try and make a change about. But that's sort of the way my life's gone, and it's almost it's a responsibility that sort of fell on my lap that I actually welcome.
To justify love. And you know your love is real. Express yourself. You've got to make it. Express yourself. Hey, 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 hey.
When you appeared at the Academy Award show, you seemed to, when there was a very tight close-up, and you seemed to be a little nervous. Of course, in front of a house like that, I can understand that.
Well, how about how there was 1 billion people watching?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was nervous.
Did you, looking back at the performance, were you happy with it and everything?
Overall, God, yeah. I mean, I was just grateful I got through it. I had so many things working against me. I had never performed live with a 50-piece orchestra before, and that was daunting in itself. And then the microphone that I sang with was supposed to come, sort of telescope out of the ground. And as I was coming out of the ground, a techie underneath the stage said, your microphone isn't going up. And so I'm sitting there, you know, in my very glamorous pose, trying to look, you know, like perfection, you know, and I'm thinking, great, I'm going to walk forward and there's going to be no microphone, and then what am I going to do? So I thought, well, don't look, don't panic, just look good for the first 30 seconds, and then you can fall apart, you know, because, you know, everyone says first impressions are the most lasting. So, of course, there was a mic stand, but it wasn't my height. And, you know, when you do a live performance, you have to sort of get through all the things that aren't exactly perfect, and it's inevitable that something will go wrong. And the more experience you have dealing with those things, they are. And so I think I did pretty well.
I would have died, I'm sure, if something like that happened.
I was nervous, but, you know, I felt good about it. So.
You attended this with Michael Jackson, of course. Was this something you guys sat down and plotted out beforehand and said, we're just going to knock everybody's socks off?
No, we started working together, and I didn't have a date for the Academy Awards, and
a comment in itself on our culture.
Absolutely. And I said, well, and Michael was like, well, who are you going to go with? And I said, I looked at him, I said, I don't know, you want to go? And he said, yeah, that'd be great.
Did he pick you up at your house? Was it one of those deals?
No, he didn't pick me up at my house because I was already there. I had to do a run-through of the show right before the show, so I was there ready. So he came and hung out backstage and then went out and watched the show and my performance, and then I came and sat down with him.
So now, afterwards, after the show and everything, did you and Michael go home together, or what happened?
Well, no, we went to Spago.
Yeah.
And there was a big party, and we stayed there for hours and hours and hours. And then, yes, he took me home. And now what do you want to know? What happened after that?
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell you.
Okay, all right.
I think we read books, though, quite frankly. We were looking at... I have tons of books on photography.
Yeah.
So that sticks out in my mind.
What did you been working on? You've done a song with him for his next album, I think, right?
Well, we're working on a song.
Yeah.
It's not, I'm a perfectionist, he's a perfectionist, and I'm glad to be working with him, just to have the experience,
Yeah.
He's a great musical talent. But, we're going to wait and finish it and then go, okay, do we want to do this? Does he want to put it on his album? Is that the next musical statement
Yeah.
I want to make? It's...
This won't be like thousands of lawyers coming in to discuss it, will it?
No, actually, the business aspect has already been taken care of. This is
Yeah.
purely a creative question right now.
There's a part in the movie where you mentioned that you're attracted to emotionally crippled people,
Yeah.
in a way. And so I've always thought maybe Michael sort of fits in there. Is that fair to say something like that?
Well, I mean, when I said I was attracted to emotionally crippled people, I didn't name any names. I mean, the thing is, I'll be the first one to raise my hand and say I am an emotional cripple. I mean,
You, yourself?
Absolutely. I mean, when I say emotional cripples, I mean people that are very needy in some way or another,
Yeah.
people that are fully evolved human beings, and no, I'm not, but I'm working on it. And I think most performers or entertainers or actors are emotionally crippled in some way or another. I think that's one of the reasons we seek out other people's approval in the business that we are. That's why we are entertainers, quote unquote. That's why we are actors playing out different roles, I think most actors, performers, singers, whatever, are emotionally crippled in some way or another. Really healthy people just aren't in this business, let's face it.
Do you see yourself getting better? I mean, do you notice I'm better this year than I was last
Yeah,
year?
yeah. And in fact, working on this movie has been a real educational experience in terms of me
Yeah.
and my emotional state of mind. I think it was a real learning experience about myself, to watch myself, view myself, hours and hours of footage, seeing the sort of the little nuances in the way I deal with people, how I deal with obstacles and how I deal with surprise, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was real educational, and I think it was valuable. I can't even tell you how valuable it was.
There's also a part in the film where you say that this is a theatrical presentation of my music, the show, the whole
Yeah.
tour was.
Mhm.
And I think there was one lip sync part in the show, which is very clear what it was.
Yeah.
I wonder what you make of, there seems to be a reaction against lip syncing and against the whole sort of artifice of what
Yeah.
a lot of pop music is. Do you have any
Well,
moral thoughts on that?
My moral thoughts are, since I'm not going around saying, it was never a requirement of me that I sing everything
Yeah.
live on stage. I think of myself, as I said, as a politician, as a performer, as an artist. But if sometimes part of my theatrical presentation is to have taped vocals while I'm doing other things,
Yeah.
then that's, and people are free to not come to my show because of that. That's their option. When you watch videos, they're not live. Everybody
Yeah.
lip syncs, and no one seems to mind that.